Hey everybody, we're going to do the lecture on files today, or at least part of it. We'll finish up the rest on Thursday along with the project solution for the Connect 4 project. So we should be able to get decently far today. So let's give it a shot. I've got a project already started here. The main thing to know about working with files is you always have to do three things. You open it, you read or write it, and then you close it. If you do those three things, you'll be in good shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my directory here where my project is, and I'm going to add a file. Now, by default, when we use file names, they're all relative paths. So I'm just going to put a file in here, and we'll just call this example.txt, and I don't know, we'll put a couple lines. Oh, let's be better. So first line, another line, third line. We'll call that good. So we got examples.txt. So what we do in Python, and you'll even notice it shows up here, which is cool. And I forgot you can even add text files right from PyCharm. I didn't have to go that route. And I can do PyCharm another .txt. Sure, we can add some stuff here. More lines. Cool. Anyway, so in our Python file, what we do is we use this open command. So we create a variable. And I don't know, whatever this is, file to read equals open, and we say, what do we want to open? Oh, I want to open example.txt. Great. Then, so that's the open. Now we're going to read it, and then we're going to close it. So I'll say file, this is the contents equals file to read, and we've got a couple options here. The most common are read or read lines. You can also read line as well. We'll get into when that might be useful. I'm a pretty big fan of read lines for most decent size files. If you get anything huge, you're going to want to use read line or be a little more specific here. But read will give you all of the file contents as a single string. So if it's multi-line file, it'll be separated with the new line characters inside that single string result. Where read lines will give you a list of strings, where each one is each line inside of that file. So what then I can do is, then I'm going to close the file, right? Read or open it, read, write, close. Once we're done, now I can, contents, or say for line in contents, we'll print line, we'll print, the line. That's all we're going to do. Nothing super fancy here. We'll give that a run. We get the first line, we get another line, we get the third line. And notice I got some extra spacing here because my print is adding new lines, and these lines end with new lines. So I might change the end to equal just a nothing character, right? So don't add my own new lines here. We can get out individual lines. We'll try this again. Let's have another file to read equals open, and let's do that another.txt. Another.txt. Oh my goodness, too many quotes. Whoa, come on back. There it goes. Right, and then we'll get the contents, single string contents equals another file to read. We'll just use read this time. So it's going to read everything to a single string. We're going to close the file. And then we'll just print the single string contents. We should get, we forgot to add a new line at the end. Because this file here, example, had 3 lines, no new line at the end of here. So let's add in a new line just to separate these files out here. And we get more lines. So this is, I don't know, maybe we'll even say print another.txt, and up here maybe we'll print example.txt. And that'll be the contents, right? Cool, so example.txt has those, another txt has more lines. And that's it. If another txt had more contents, second line, right, when we read it, we'll get those contents out. So it just kind of depends what you want to do with the contents of the file, whether or not you want a single string or a list of strings. You've got options. So I typically will use this list of strings as long as the file is not too huge. So again, it reads the entire thing. You've got some cool options where the file reader doesn't actually read the entire content. So imagine you had like Moby Dick as a text file. You might not want to read all of that into a single string. It'd be a little bit large. Most of our computers could probably handle it because text isn't all that big, but you just got to be careful. And again, performance will matter more once you do more of that algorithm analysis, design sort of stuff. For now, we're just learning some of the tools. Just be aware that can happen. All right, so that's for reading files. And now one other thing to check here. This is file equals open. Let's say oops.txt. And then oops equals oops file dot read. I'll just do read lines because I like read lines. And then oops file dot close. Now let's see what happens. Oh, we crash. File not found error. Error number 2, no such file or directory, oops.txt. Well, so when we're doing these, we might want to wrap them in the try blocks, right? So now we've talked about exceptions. I can say try this, and let's accept a file not found error. And if that happens, we'll print can't. I mean, just might as well even like catch that as the exception. And we'll just print the exception, right, if that happens. Right? So we should be able to do that. And, you know, if it works, we'll print oops. You know, it's not going to work, but that's fine. So now our program's not going to crash, and I can do this in the middle, right, and the rest of my program would still run. So when we're dealing with file, input, and output, using these try except blocks is super handy, because it's going to keep us from crashing. Okay? So we got some options there. So that's for reading. Let's say we wanted to write to a file. Well, it works a very similar way. So I'm actually going to get we'll call it file name equals an input of enter a file name to write. And I'm going to call, this is my file to write, equals open, and I'm going to give it the file name. And then I'm going to give it a W flag. So W means write. So by default, remember you can have optional arguments. It's R for read, W for write, and there's also A for append we'll get to as well. But this will open a file for writing mode. And then I can take my file to write, and I can call, where did it go here? I thought it was print. Wasn't it print? Oh, write. File to write. And I'll write something here. I can write anything I want to the file. So this is some stuff I'm writing. And there's also a write lines. So it's given lines. I think right. Let's see if that adds a new line or not. I'm trying to remember. Probably should have looked it up. I breezed through it, and I'm already forgetting now because it's getting late here, but that's okay. And more stuff. And then we'll close. File to write, close. Let's give that a shot. Enter a file name. So this is like, we'll do test.txt. And I see it pops up over here. Let's take a peek. Test.txt. And it did not add our new lines. Okay, sure. So let's add our own new lines in here. We can add in our own \n. Okay. Sound good? So we can write files. Now, every time I do this, let's do more stuff, a couple times, just for fun. And if I give it the same test.txt, what happens is it gets overwritten. Right? I added my new lines to the some stuff I'm writing, but not to the more stuff. And if I run it again, it's overwritten and it stays the same. So I'm not appending. So what you want to do, where did that go? Oh, goodness. If you want to append to the file, you open it with A for append mode, which will just add to the end of the file. When that one runs, we'll be able to test.txt. We're going to get it. Oh, I have to tell it test.txt. Sorry. There we go. Now we can open up and we get it again. Right, so append mode will add to the file. Write mode will overwrite it. So you need to be a little bit careful in write mode here, because what if I were to write over, say, another .txt? Well, now I've just replaced another .txt with what I now have here. So just be careful. And notice these are still relative paths. It creates it in the current working directory. Right, so we're executing Python on the file here, main.py, and it's going to put it in that same directory here. Now you notice these paths have forward slashes. Windows is sometimes particular about backslashes versus Linux uses forward slashes. So there's some cool stuff you can do with pathing using the OS module. Zybooks has it. We're not going to bother with it. We're just going to stick with relative paths. But if you want, like, hey, I want c:\temp/text.txt, you'd have to give it a full path, not just the file name, which is here as relative. Again, it's a little more advanced. We're not going to need to bother with it. Here, everything we're going to do is relative, but just keep that in your back pocket. Something to know about files. All right, so that's reading and writing. Writing with append mode is great. Let's take a peek. What else do we have in here? Reading, writing, Yeah, so read is the default. That's good. Oh yeah, I'm not streaming, so I can even have zyBooks open. With a file system, this OS module is great. You can delete files, which is fun. This path join to do the right backslashes or forward slashes is perfectly fine. It's all good. You can split a path. You can find out if the path exists. The path is a file, and even git size, which is really fun. So you got some cool options here in Python for dealing with files. And we're going to use this path exists a little bit later on in the project, the next project that you have. So that's fun. And then OS walk is pretty handy. It gives you directories, subdirectories, and files from a given path. And then you can recurse in it, which is pretty cool. It gives you like this whole set of information, which is fun. Dealing with binary data is really obnoxious. We're not going to get into it, but just know like these files we created are just text files. I can open them up like a notepad or whatever you want to use in Macland. Python files are text files. So if you wanted to get fancy, you could make a Python program to write another Python program. Right? We could get really silly with that, right? Well, let's do that for fun. We'll say print, and then we want hello world, like that. And I don't need any of this other more stuff here. We'll end the print. Right. And sure, we should be good here. So let's run main. Let's say I want to call this test.py. It creates test.py. Test.py is print hello world, and we can run test.py, and it prints hello world. Just for fun. So like you don't have to have .txt extensions. The .txt extension is just telling us, hey, it's a plain text file that we can probably open with a regular text editor. .py files are plain text files. We just open up with a Python editor. Now what you don't get, say we're to make like a new Microsoft Word file here. There's my Word document here. Test.doc here. If I were to try and open this one up, let's actually put something in here. Hello world. Save and close it. All right, so now it's got something in there. If I were to try and open this with Notepad, which you can do, it looks like crap. Right? It's gibberish, essentially, because this is a binary file. So there's a particular format that this is written in that programs know how to read and say, oh, I'll read the first couple bytes, this means something. I'll read the next couple bytes, this means something. I'll read the next couple bytes, that means something. It's not just plain text. So somewhere in here we can find hello. Oh, we can't find it? I thought we could find hello world somewhere in here, but maybe not. That's okay. So binary files look like gibberish. You have to know the specific format. zyBooks has a fun example. You can put some stuff in it. You can like mess with bitmaps if you know the format of a bitmap, which is really fun and neat, but again, we're just not going to bother here. Command line arguments and files are fun. That's okay, we won't bother with that. The with statement is really handy. So with makes sure that I will automatically close my file when I'm done. So this is super handy. Really handy syntax to make sure we're going to open it and close it when we're done with it. That's called a context manager. So with is really handy. We'll probably use that when we do more examples. It's just a shortcut to make sure we open it and then we close it when we're done. That's all it is. So you can use that. If you're using CSV files, there's a CSV module you can import, which knows how to read CSV files, which is super handy, depending on the particular type of data and format files that you have. Using a CSV reader, CSV Reader, you give it the file, right? You open up a CSV file, and then you hand it to the reader, and you tell it, hey, it's delimited with commas. We'll open it up for you. It's fantastic. Now, that's actually all it is when it comes to files. So I think the video for Thursday is just going to be the solution to the project, and then our next project. We won't have too much more there. Again, we'll practice it in labs. We'll practice it in the projects. I'm sorry, this is going a little fast. I'm drank a bunch of coffee because I'm so tired. And I've got no one live to answer questions. So please find me in Discord, email, call, text, reach out. Let me know what's going on, how I can help. And we just need to keep plugging along. We'll move forward. And we can get going here, keeping up with our content. We only have a little bit more, actually. We are in chapter 12. We've got 13, 14, and 15. Recursion we're going to be a little bit light on, same with inheritance, because we're going to hit those harder next semester. And then I want to give you your final project here, week 12, so you've got lots of time to get it done, a whole month or so, because it's worth 25% of your grade here for the final project. Again, you will have the option of doing that in pairs if you want. I'm not going to make anyone work in pairs given this crazy remote learning, but if you want to work in pairs, that's fantastic. So find somebody in Discord or however you guys are chatting and reach out, and we can go from there. It's been crazy. I'm working on getting the midterms graded and the projects. Apologize for the backlog. So I'll get to them quickly as I can. I'm working on them here, but thanks for your patience. And I do hope to hear from you guys. Let me know how it's going. You guys are doing great. We're plugging along and we're making the best of it. So you guys take care.